If you decide to turn to debt collectors, what you need to know. In a collision with a notorious fraudster or in a situation where you understand that you cannot force the debtor to return the loan to you, and meaningless negotiations take too much time and effort, you should contact the debt collectors. It is most rational to contact large debt collection agencies, which are specialized law firms. However, if such firms simply did not appear in your locality, and for one reason or another, you cannot contact those located in a large city, then you will have to turn to private debt collectors. You may be faced with the need to contact them even if the debtor's obligations to you are not formalized correctly. And at the same time, all debt collection agencies available to you refuse to work with such debtors. In addition, a large debt collection agency, like any large firm, may simply not be interested in the execution of small orders or treat them carelessly. However, when referring to private debt collectors, or small debt collection firms, you need to understand the associated risks. The main one is doing business with dishonest people. Since this type of business is associated with extremely sensitive issues and, at the same time, in many countries it is regulated by the state in a minimal area. This business is maximally convenient for a wide variety of fraudsters. The significant part of private debt collectors, for example, do not sign an agreement with the client so as not to pay taxes on the money returned to him. But at the same time, he draws up a power of attorney from the client, which allows him to take almost any legal action on behalf of the client, including the sale and purchase of property. It is clear that, having such a power of attorney in hand, the debt collector can perform a variety of actions in relation to the client. Such actions may be associated with an abuse of his trust, up to the sale of his apartment to any fraudsters with misappropriation of the funds received. In a number of cases, debt recovery is associated with the transfer of very delicate information to debt collectors, which, theoretically, can be used by them to blackmail the client. Finally, the debt collectors may also simply not return the money they received from the debtor to the client, without giving the debtor any IOU and denying the very fact of their receipt. Of course, other types of fraud are also possible. Therefore, when referring to debt collectors, it is best to use the services and recommendations of friends. If there are none, you will have to choose according to the mentions in the media, realizing that these mentions are of an advertising nature. And the best debt collectors still work very often without ads. On the one hand, not wanting to attract excessive attention to themselves, and on the other, being overloaded with orders even without it. The second problem with debt collectors is the way they operate. The significant part of the debt collectors come from various power structures who have preserved their corporate culture, in the form in which it existed at the time of dismissal. You must clearly understand that young people from a significant part of many power structures can be deeply affected by the virus of legal nihilism. And also to have not only a painful inclination to forceful methods of solving problems, but also a certain psychological instability. In addition, as the debt collectors themselves admit, a significant part of the frostbitten criminals who received significant sentences of imprisonment began to be released. Knowing no other craft, some of them went to the debt collectors. And they began, by virtue of the only way of action available to them, not only to threaten the debtors with crimes against them and their loved ones, but also to commit these crimes. Because you, for one reason or another, turn to the debt collectors, not the bandits. And this choice of yours bears a deliberate nature. Such people should be avoided by all means. In addition, the realization of their painful inclination to forceful actions, if it occurs, will be carried out on your behalf. That can impose on you not only moral, but even criminal liability in case of an unfavorable development of events. The debt collector should not enjoy the power he receives over the debtor, and not have a penchant for blackmail, although he may have to resort to threats within the legal framework. Remember that he can quite effectively blackmail, and not only blackmail, not only your debtor, but also yourself. The debt collector must be psychologically stable, balanced and experienced person. Therefore, the best are retirees who are at least 40 years old, and better over 45 years old, who have been associated in the past with the Special Services, the Prosecutor's Office or, at the very least, the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Since you have to act in the legal field, you should not get involved with former police operatives, no matter how good people they are and no matter how pleasant they make. Unless, of course, after their resignation, they did not become lawyers and did not work in this capacity for at least 5 years. The presence of a lawyer status indicates at least the legal literacy of the debt collector, because this status provides very significant advantages, and his propensity to resolve issues by legal means. You should consider as a source of potential danger for yourself personally the debt collectors, who naturally use the verb knock out in relation to their activities. Also registered outside your area. The former are capable, even without any fraud, with the best intentions, to get you into unpredictable trouble. The latter, with a high degree of probability, may turn out to be guest performers, who can disappear at the most inopportune moment. Finally, you must understand that the services of the debt collector are quite expensive. This is a business that is no less delicate and often more complex than a lawyer's business. A person who is ready to take on the return of your debt for 10% of its value should immediately arouse serious suspicions in you. The real cost of the debt collector's job, which includes gathering information and a rather exhausting interaction with an uncompromising client, starts at 20% of the cost of debt. On average, when bank debt was overdue for 60 to 120 days, it was 25% and in some cases can even reach 40% of the debt value. Moreover, up to a third of this amount is charged as an advance. Naturally, the higher the amount owed, the lower the proportion of your down payment. When concluding a contract with you, the debt collector must agree on the distribution of the amount of additional income, penalties for delay, interest, and so on. Its share in these incomes can be up to half. For this money, the debt collector should not constantly load you with a description of his actions and force you to make decisions in situations you do not understand. His function is to act constantly and steadily, collect information, put pressure on the debtor, promptly inform you about all significant changes and about their actions. If a choice arises between different methods of action or if it is necessary to make a decision in an abnormal situation, not specified by you when concluding the contract, he really should contact you. However, at the same time, its function is not to transfer to you the entire responsibility for making a decision for which you, as a rule, are not ready. But in a comprehensive analysis of your possible steps and sound advice. At the same time, the debt collector, of course, must be able to answer all your questions and describe possible scenarios for the development of events. Strictly speaking, a good debt collector is a person whom you would like to see as your lawyer and advisor on all imaginable and inconceivable issues. If you find one, this in itself will pay off your torment 100-fold, associated with attempts to return unsuccessfully borrowed funds. Good luck with business. Be vigilant, attentive, and careful. Subscribe and stay with us. More useful and valuable videos are waiting for you further. See you soon.